So this morning, our keynote speaker needs no introduction. All of you know who that is. But I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the efforts that Mr. Earl Kim has made to provide a vision and direction for our campus-wide system and the leadership it takes to move us forward. An email was sent to you earlier this week or late last week highlighting the context of which Mr. Kim's remarks will be built upon as we further our understanding of our Hawaiian culture-based education framework. I thank you again for being here, and at this time I introduce Mr. Kim to present his keynote message.
Thank you so much. Aloha kākou. You know, Debbie went through a litany of people whom she was thanking for organizing this event, and as I looked at the brochure that you got via email with 22 workshops listed, all beautifully written up, all very exciting. I actually wanted to enroll in all of them. I wish I could do more than one in a day. I thought of all the work that went into it. And one thing you don't know is that in Debbie's office, she's been short-staffed for the past, 4 or 5 months. So in addition to her regular job, she was pulling this program together with lots of help. Actually, not that much help. You know, a handful of people really put this program together. And so I just want to thank our curriculum coordinators, Debbie, the support staff, Mana, for all their help, Pauline, in putting this together. So if you could just join me in appreciating. I also want to note, for those of you who are bean counters, that in the program, there were 21 external presenters who were coming in. So we reached out to 21 people from outside of KS to help us out with the workshops today. So 21 external, 26 were internal. So the majority of our presenters actually come from within, which is a shift. It's a shift, a good shift. 15 were actually kumu here at Kamehameha, at this campus. And 14 are alumni of this fine institution. I think that's a wonderful testament to what's going on here. Because as the head of school, I have the benefit of looking through some of the archives, some of the things and notes and concerns of people in the past. And when we first announced Kula Hawaiʻi, there were a lot of questions and concerns. There were questions as basic as, am I going to have a job in a Kula Hawaiʻi? I'm not Hawaiian. Am I going to have to learn Olelo? Am I going to have to be fluent? What does it mean for how I teach? And these are some of the concerns that were welled up inside of people. And so the leadership of the campus put together an in-service called Kula Hawaiʻi, where we would introduce people to Ike Hawaiʻi and in its many forms in order that Nohona Hawaiʻi would perpetuate itself. And so all sorts of people were brought in. It's beautiful to see that now we're taking hold of that for ourselves. And making it our own. So I thank the organizers for helping us to make that shift and to continue to grow this program over the years. The purposes today, there was the original purpose of Kula Hawaiʻi that I talked about, which was to learn, practice, and perpetuate Ike Hawaiʻi. Another purpose that developed over time was that, we got this thing called the veil somewhere along the way. I think it was somewhere around 2008. And so that was a new strand that kind of came in, and it was a new thing to do, something new to learn. But then somebody said, that's part of Kula Hawaiʻi, and so we can wrap that into what we do on Kula Hawaiʻi Day. And so the veil and curriculum work became part of what we do on Kula Hawaiʻi Day. And finally, we tried to organize the work in a way that it wasn't just a bunch of individuals who were learning stuff, going back to their classrooms, sometimes applying it, sometimes not. We wanted to find a way to scale the good learning that occurred, the innovation that was happening. And so most of you are organized into some kind of collaborative team, whether it's as a PLC at elementary school or a grade level team at middle school or a floor team or a community of practice, whatever you call it. You're organized into teams, and our hope is that you'll take the knowledge back. You'll take the applications of the learning that you've done today back to your team and share it so it becomes a part of the practice of this institution. It's a different approach to making change happen. It's a different approach from directing that a certain way of teaching or a certain set of content is what we're going to teach. Instead, it comes from you and your learning. And there's no right answer, and we never get to the final answer. It just continues to grow over time. So that's the fourth purpose of our day today. All this is being done in light of a new framework that's been published. I say new in quotes. For those of you who had a chance to read that one-page blurb called the HKS, Kamehameha Schools, HCBE, Hawaiian Culture-Based Education Framework, you say, well, you know, that wasn't really that new. I've heard that before. So I'd like to spend some time talking about that framework. Not that I'm going to make you all experts in a day, but so that we're at least on literally the same page to start. And I expect that over time, each of us is going to grow at their different pace, but by working together in our collaborative teams, we'll come to a shared understanding of what it means to have a Kamehameha Schools Hawaiian culture-based education approach. So it isn't new. It's based on our philosophy of education, which is in Policy 200T for those who are interested. It is also based on our KS working exit outcomes. The cultural vibrancy policy. You can refer to all these online. The Kula Hawaiʻi statement that is attached to and referenced in the cultural vibrancy policy. If you look at our Kūhanauna document that includes our strategic vision for 2040 and the strategic plan for 2020, you'll find elements of it. So it is not, HCBE is not a new initiative. Rather, it pulls together, it coheres all of what we've learned over the past 15 years or so that are reflected in those documents. So the good news is that all the work that we've been putting in over the years, and it goes back before 2000, I know that, but many of these documents have been published since 2000. It affirms what we've been doing and says, continue the good work, continue to grow, continue to develop and learn. We are a Kula Hawaiʻi. This is where we are today. So that's where the HCBE framework finds its roots. Why do we need it? Again, pulls together many initiatives. The philosophy of education was located in one place, cultural vibrancy policy in another, Kula Hawaiʻi statement in another. It pulled together all those things. You'll also see in it the Danielson framework language, the distinguished teaching practice, distinguished leadership practice. So kapi'ina is folded into it, not in a forced way, but you see that it fits in quite naturally. It articulates a very important purpose and the elements of HCBE that we all should share. Now, there's much more to HCBE than what we put on that one-page document. And each of us is going to express it and manifest it in different ways. That's intended, but the framework is there, the structure is there for us to hang the content, the pedagogy, the practice, the family engagement activities on. The framework is there. You know, when we think about educating 3,200 unique children, and we look at the 350, 400 people in the auditorium today, each of you having a different kind of interaction with those young people, that's complex. And somehow we're going to take them from where they are, wherever they are, to this vision of 2040, which is post-secondary educational success, Hawaiian and Christian values, and serving their communities locally and globally. Somehow we're going to take 3,200 unique people, using all these different people touching their lives, and produce a common set of outcomes. That's complex. There's no way we can manage that. So the framework provides us with a set of kind of guardrails or bumpers to bounce up against as we navigate the course. It is our group, our education group, the education group Dr. Stender talked about with the campuses, preschools together in one. Ho'okahua. Ho'olaukoa, the Educational Systems and Strategies Office, HES. Ma'alamaola, which is our Safety and Health Office. And I left off one group. Can anybody name that group? Gosh. The fifth group in the education group is? Community Education. Thank you so much. And the reason I couldn't remember is because their name is changing. So we have a very simple theory of action covering these 1,700 employees across 5 divisions. And it is this: if we do HCBE well, then we realize the 2040 vision. So we have a lot at stake in doing this well. And that's why it was important to come together and put this statement together for people. So you can see in the handout that we have these 4 bullets, these 4 how-tos on distinguished teaching, learning, and leadership. And I would say in that bullet is also content. And that means that this isn't new to us. Distinguished teaching is described in the Danielson rubric on the far right-hand column. But it's not just distinguished teaching. It's not all on you. It's about distinguished learning. We don't talk much about that. But when you talk about that last column in the Danielson rubric where students are setting their own learning targets and directing their own learning, that's difficult for some of our students. That's difficult for many of us. So we need to do something with our students in preparation for the kind of learning that we expect. And distinguished leadership practice. It is our burden as well to differentiate for each of the 400 staff members who are represented in this room, just as we expect you to differentiate for your haumana. The content that we teach integrates the cultural principles, the values of Kamehameha schools, the veil, the working exit outcomes. That's all part of distinguished teaching and learning. As we design our curriculum, our units of instruction with those principles in mind, and assess students, not just on the content standards, but on the cultural principles and the application of the values, then we know that the learning is occurring. And when our students age up and start setting their own learning targets based on their interests, then we know we've taken it to yet another level. Well-designed learning environments, and we typically think of that as these beautiful buildings that we have, many of which are a little old and are in need of renewal, refreshing. But we also, when it comes to learning environments, we're talking beyond the classroom walls. Whether we're talking about on the land, overseas, or online. However our students can interact with the content and their kumu. So well-designed learning environments that support the kind of distinguished teaching and learning that we're talking about. Ohana Engagement. Now, we do things with our parents. We present workshops, we welcome them, we orient them, we run kuka with them. But as we look towards post-secondary education success as one of the vision statements or pole stars that we have, when we talk about the Hawaiian and Christian values that we espouse here at Kamehameha, and when we talk about service as a form of leadership, these may not all be familiar to all of our caregivers, to all of our parents, to all of our alumni who are also in our ohana. So some different kinds of engagement have to occur in order to make those experiences or learnings real to them. We can't just tell, as I'm doing now. There have to be other activities, like the ones you're engaged in today, where they can construct their own understanding through shared experiences with others. That's distinguished teaching practice. So Ohana Engagement, we're going to be enhancing that, and although much of the onus falls on Merv and her office to coordinate, it really falls on each of us, because each of us are the first contact with parents and caregivers. And finally, Aloha Aina, and we had some big discussion about Aloha Aina in our work group, because Aloha Aina is a value. But it makes it into our list of the elements of an HCBE because we felt it important to call it out. And Aloha Aina means different things to different people. In fact, we have a really interesting workshop that probably everybody wanted to get into today, where we're going to get some different views on Aloha Aina. So it means everything from love of the land, literally, to a sense of patriotism and deep devotion to where we're from and to our country. So it means all of those things and everything in between. But we list it as an element of the HCBE framework for all of our haumana to embrace. Is there a right way and a wrong way to do it? I don't think so. And I hope we don't teach that way. Because dogma is the death of learning. So you've seen this before. This is a conceptualization of the HCBE framework in a nutshell. It's about student capacity and their learning mindset. It's about teaching and leadership practices. It's about the content that we teach. And you notice these diagrams interact with one another, they overlap. And it's about Ohana engagement. If we do these things well, the outcomes will result. We will realize that 2040 vision, not just here at Kamehameha schools, but beyond. And all of that takes place within a context that we call Kula Hawaiʻi, Kamehameha Schools-Kapālama. We take our students from where they are. We value the experiences that they bring to the table, each and every one of them. We value who they are and where they come from, all that they stand for, all that they've learned up to that point that they enter our classroom. And we see them as different from each of the 24 or the 100 that we teach each day. And our job as teachers is to connect them to that new knowledge within the context of our Kula Hawaiʻi. So to say that I teach math, we all know that that's a misnomer. I don't teach math, I teach students. Each and every one of them unique. Our challenge is to take them, to introduce them to this new content and this new language, literally a different culture, whether it's math, science, art, music, whatever it might be, so that they can appreciate and make it their own. And then grow from that and fulfill their wildest dreams and aspirations. That's our goal. That's what HCBE does for us. And that's the framework that we share with you. Not just with this campus, it's being shared across our campuses. It's being shared at our preschools. It's being shared in whatever community education is calling itself today, across the education group. If we do this well, if we continue to grow in our understanding of what it means to have a Hawaiian culture-based education approach, we will see in 2040 post-secondary educational success at higher levels than we've ever seen it before. We will see graduates of our schools imbued with the values of not only our school, but the values, the Christian values that we espouse. And we'll see our graduates and other graduates from other institutions around the island serving their communities and rising to positions of leadership because their service is recognized, contributing in whatever way they can in order to increase the capability and well-being of people of Hawaiian ancestry and to enrich humankind wherever they go in the world. So that's our HCBE framework. And that's what we're here to learn about today as we go out from here. And all I ask that you do is, wherever you go, whichever workshop you participate in, that you connect the understanding that is being shared with what you do in the classroom, if you're a principal or administrator, with what you do at the school level, or within your department, connect. Fold it in, integrate it into what you're already doing. It's not a separate swim lane. It's not something in addition to that we do. It's how we do it. Create ways to collaborate. Don't just do it yourself, but share the knowledge, because in that way we scale practice and excellence rises to the top. Implement whatever your plans are in your classroom, in your department, in your school. Something we often forget to do, take time to get feedback and to assess whether or not what you did was effective. And I realize that this takes time. Some of you have it structured into your work year. All of us should have it structured into our work year. If you don't have it structured into your work year and you need the time, ask for it. We'll give it to you. That's a promise. Because reflection, getting feedback, and assessment is a critical part of the learning process for us as professionals. So again, I mahalo all of you for being here today. I mahalo the team that put this program together. It's a terrific program, and I know you're going to enjoy it. I look forward to seeing you on the other end. Aloha.